Hi folks! In this video I'm going to show how I install recessed zippers in my tote bags. They're installed with these panels into the lining. It just gives another element to your tote bags, whether you're making your own pattern, someone else's pattern, or using my tote bag patterns. You can use the same process to install a zipper if you'd like to have. So if you'd like to see how I do this, keep watching. So let's get started. I've prepared my tote bag. I've used one of the patterns that I have on my YouTube channel that I make in Design Space. So this bag is 14 by 11. I've sewn gussets on the bottom to give it a base, and I've used heavy interfacing in the bag. I've basted in my handles, and it's time to work on the recessed zipper and lining. So we'll just set that aside. For my lining, I have my two lining pieces, which I've pressed at the top. I've not sewn them because we will sew them into the bag all at once. I've prepared the panels that I showed you for the recessed zipper. I've actually cut these the same width as the lining, but I hem them, and I use heat and bond tape to hem them. I really like how nice and clean it looks and crisp, and it's sturdy. I have my zipper, which is wider than the bag, and I've cut two pieces, 2 by 3.5. You can cut these any size you like. They are for the end tabs that will go over the zipper, the pull tabs. So what I've done on these is cut them 2 by 3.5 as mentioned, and again I used heat and bond tape to hem the edges on the long side, on the 3.5-inch side. So the first thing that we want to do is prepare our zipper. I'll just put that aside. We want to prepare our zipper with our tabs. So we're going to fold our tabs good side together, line them up nice and straight with the hemmed edges against each other, and we're going to sew around 3 sides. Back stitch at both ends to make sure you don't pull them apart when you turn them right side out. Just clean up the threads. There we go. And we'll cut off any excess fabric from the seam allowance. And you can make these end caps any size you like. Make them the same size on both ends. Make one smaller than the other, however you prefer, whatever look you like. So I'm just going to turn this right side out. I have to prepare my second one, but just to show you how this will look on the end, this gives us the little pull tab at the end. We're going to top stitch all the way around. I'm going to use the end of a small paintbrush to push my corners out. I know there's a tool for this. I'll have to look for it next trip to the fabric store. But that works. Okay, I'm going to prepare my second one in the same way. Again, folding hem to hem, good side in, and sewing around all 3 sides, back stitch at the beginning and the end. Remove my excess thread once again, cut off any bulk if there is any, so that you get a nice crisp edge when you turn it right side out. Okay. Turn this one right side out. It's a little tedious on small things like this. Again, I'll use my paintbrush to push out the corners. Okay, so I'm going to press both of these and then we'll go to the next step, installing them on the ends of the zipper. In this next step, we're going to be installing the end caps onto my zipper. I like that the zipper is longer than the lining will be and that I can tuck it inside, so I'm not going to be shortening it. I will, however, shorten the tape end on the zipper, because for the simple reason, if I install my end cap, I risk sewing onto this metal tab that's on the zipper. And I don't want to do that and break my needle. So I'm just going to trim off about a 1/4 inch from the end of the zipper, not disturbing the metal tab. But that allows me to clear it when I sew, when I top stitch there. And doing that allows me to clear the metal tab, but also gives me enough length in my zipper that I still extend over the width of the lining. So I'm just going to center this up. I'm going to pin it in place so it doesn't move. And I'm going to top stitch around all 4 sides. There we go. I'll just trim my excess thread. And I'm going to do, you can see this one installed, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Move my zipper pull out of the way. Once again, we have these little metal tabs, and I don't want my needle to hit those when I'm sewing. So once again, I'm going to just trim off about a 1/4 inch. And I'm actually going to sew back and forth across this zipper a couple of times to make sure there's no risk of losing my pull while I'm working on it. Although I've left my middle tab in place. I'm going to treat it as I would have if I had cut off the metal tab. There we go. Cut those off. It will also hold the zipper together while I'm attaching the end cap. Let's get that out of the way. I'll attach my end cap. Center it. sure straight. Make sure everything's nice and straight. And I'll pin it in place, and once again, I'll sew around all 4 sides. As you can see, my zipper is now just a really nice length. So we have our end caps installed on both ends of the zipper. The next thing that we're going to do is install these panels that attach the zipper to the lining. I'm going to put my zipper foot on my machine, and I'll be back to show you the next step. Okay, so we're all set to install our zipper onto the panels that will hold our zipper on the lining. So these pieces I've cut 4 by 14. They're shorter now because once again I used the heat and bond to hem the sides. I like the way it looks. It's nice and crisp and clean. I folded these in half and pressed them good side together. I'm going to fold this in half again so I can find my middle point, and I'll just press it with my fingers. And because this fabric is so dark, I think I'll use a tailor's chalk to make a line where I've pressed. That should be the center point. Let's make sure. Yes. I'm going to do the same with my zipper. I'm going to put my tabs together so that I'm measuring only the zipper, not the end caps. Make a fold in them. And once again, I'm going to use my tailor's chalk to make a mark. And I'm going to take my zipper, good side facing down, the pull tab facing down, and I'm going to center it on the open panel. Because my zipper is longer, I've closed it to get the pull tab out of the way. I'm going to fold this together and clip it at the middle to make sure it doesn't move. I'll add a clip at this end. And I'm going to use my machine with my zipper foot installed to sew right along the edge on this side. Okay, we'll clean up our thread. Definitely don't want any of it to get caught in the zipper. And we're just going to reach inside pull on the zipper tape itself and work it through to the other side. Because now that this panel is folded in half, it's only 2 inches wide. It's going to take a little work to pull this panel through. And this fabric that I'm using is quite heavy. So if you're using a cotton or something lighter, it will go a lot faster. Does take a little work. There we go. That took some work. So now I'm going to go to my iron and press this down flat. And when I come back, I'm going to top stitch right along to give a nice finish to the panel. Okay, so I've pressed my panel down and I'm going to finish the side by top stitching. I'll trim away my thread and we'll install this second side. Okay, once again we take our panel, good sides folded together. We're going to find the middle. Although this side is easier to line up because we already have the first side installed. We're going to go good side of the zipper, pull side down and line up with the one that's already installed. And because you have the panel on it, you're going to have a little extra fabric here. So you're just going to fold it up out of the way. I'm going to clip at the middle. Make sure everything is nice and straight. Clip at this end to hold it in place. Extra fabric gets in the way, you might have to fold it back down again. And there we go. And once again, I'm going to sew my zipper in all along this panel. Cut away my threads. And now we're going to do the same, reach inside and pull from the inside. It's easier to pull on the panel that you installed on the first turn. So we're going to work it through. Okay, takes some work to pull it through, but it's worth it because when your panels are installed on the zipper, you have no open ends on them. They're all finished edges when you install them into the lining. There we go. Phew, that was a job. Okay, so once again, I'm going to press this second panel and top stitch along before we go to the next step of installing them in the lining. Okay, my second panel is installed. I'm going to top stitch. All set. So my panels are installed. My zipper works beautifully. And we're going to go on to the next stage of installing this onto the lining before we actually sew the lining as a bag. So I'll be right back to show you the next step. So the next thing we're going to do is measure for the installation of our zipper panels. I have both my lining pieces face up. We'll do one at a time. My lining piece is 14 inches wide. So my center will be at 7 inches. So I'm just going to take my tailor's chalk to make the middle mark. I want to install my panel. I already have my 1/2 inch seam allowance at the top, folded over, pressed over. So I want to install my panel about 1 inch down from the top. I'm going to make again a chalk line so that I can line up my panel properly. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the second panel. I'm going to mark 1 inch down from the top. You can use pins if you don't have tailor's chalk. Use whatever you have available. Maybe you have the washable fabric pen from CRICUT. It's great. I love those. And we'll find our center mark again. Set the rulers aside. We're going to be working one lining panel at a time, one lining piece at a time. We're going to take our zipper panel, fold it in half, and find our center mark. Line it up. Nice and straight. I'm going to use straight pins for this. And with my regular foot installed on my sewing machine, I'm going to sew right along this top edge with the top stitch. Take out my pins. And now I'm going to do the same process to install the second panel. We'll lay out the second panel. I'm going to turn this one. We have it installed this way. Just lift it up, turn it around, and we're going to install it as we did the first. Make sure everything lines up. Pin it in place. And we're going to top stitch right along again. Okay, so now you can see this zipper panels are holding the lining pieces together. We'll take out our pins. We don't need those anymore. I'm going to clean up all my thread. So lots of it. See this side. And now we're going to make our lining insert for the bag. So we're just going to fold this up. Make sure that everything tucks nicely inside out of the way. You don't want to accidentally sew anything into the side seams from your zipper panels. I'm going to clip these ends. That out of the way. You might have to fiddle with it a little to make sure it doesn't get caught in anything. Okay, and we're going to be sewing down both sides and across the bottom. Everything's lining up nice. You might have to fuss a little because of the panels, but just try to get everything nice and straight. And sew your both sides and across your bottom, after which I'll sew the gussets and we'll install it in the bag. Be right back. Okay, so I should have mentioned to you that you want to open your zipper at this point. And I'm going to go ahead and sew my sides and my bottom as mentioned. So we have our side seams and bottom done, and the gussets are done. And you can see how the zipper is installed. And now we're just going to go ahead and install this in the bag. I'm not giving any instruction on how to make the actual bags. You can see on other videos on my YouTube channel how I make my tote bags. Just install this, leave it inside out, install it all the way inside. I'm going to clip my side seams nice and straight together. My handles are already basted in, as I mentioned. Okay, so I'm going to continue clipping all the way around, and then I'm going to top stitch all around the bag to attach the lining to the outside of the bag. So there you go. Your tote bag with the recessed zipper all installed. I hope you like it. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I hope that you'll make some tote bags. Post pictures if you do. Thank you for watching.